Well, next we're going to move to student voice. I think that as we're looking at gifted ed, looking at school in general, it is always very important to have student voice. And the student voices that we have are right here in the building where I'm talking to you from, which is our building that houses the Center for Gifted Studies and the Gatton Academy of Mathematics and Science. I'm delighted that we have three avatars from Gatton Academy who are here. And an avatar is a leader. They are all seniors, so they have last year's experience at the Gatton Academy. They haven't just checked in the last 2 weeks, but they have a year's experience and they're engaging in the next experience. And let me say, just for anyone who may not know, that the Gatton Academy of Math and Science, it's 15 years old. It is a residential school for high school juniors and seniors. They complete their high school experience at the same time that they are earning a minimum of 30 college hours. So they're full-time college students while they're still earning their high school diploma. And I will ask each of them to introduce him or herself. Tell us where your sending school is. Where'd you go to school before you came to the Gatton Academy? And something that you really like about being at the Gatton Academy. And I'm going to start with you, Joaquin.
Hello. My name is Joaquin Powig. I'm from Corbin, Kentucky, which is somewhere southeast, very southeast of the state. And I went to Corbin High School. And I think one of my favorite things about Gatton is just the people and the support that you can get here. And the way that we have structured everything so that like the students get all the resources that they need to help grow themselves as a person and grow themselves into the career choices that they want.
Thank you. Chesney?
Hi, I'm Chesney Booth. I'm from Hazard, Kentucky, which is also very southeastern Kentucky. My sending school is Hazard High School. And I think my favorite thing about Gatton is probably just the challenge of it and being challenged in a way that you don't receive at many sending schools, but then having the support to back you up during that challenge.
Thank you. Jolie.
Hi, my name is Jaylee Graham. I'm from Winchester, Kentucky, which is about 30 minutes southeast of Lexington, but I went to school in Madison County at Model Laboratory High School. My favorite thing about Gatton, I have to agree, is definitely the community and the opportunities that our community gives to us, and then the support that we get when we go for opportunities like scholarships or different kinds of internships.
Now, I'm going to back up and ask you questions about your early educational experiences. So my first question is, what would be a highlight or highlights of your K-8 learning school experience?
I can go first. So my K-8 education, we also had like I don't know if it was formal, but we did have like a gifted and talented program, and I was designated as a student in that program. And a lot of the major benefits from that was being able to take more advanced classes. Like I started high school about 1 to 2 years ahead, especially from 4th to 8th. And basically just offering me the opportunity to take classes early was probably the highlight of my academic career pre-Gatton.
So Chesney, let me follow up with you. What classes were you given the opportunity to take early?
When I was in, it mainly started in 8th grade. So my entire 8th grade, I took basically my freshman year classes, and I took Algebra 1, a class that I think a lot of schools have called Integrated Science. Um, sorry, it's been a while. Um, I took English 1, and we had this class called Career Options, which was a high school requirement at Hazard that I took.
Okay, so you really skipped a grade in that
Mhm. Yeah,
respect,
essentially.
had the opportunity to move on. And let me say for everyone who's listening, I did not give these three students the questions up front, and I did not, and anyone can not answer a question if that's the choice you make. If we were in person, I would not call on you. I would look down the line and have an idea if you really wanted to say something, but I will call on you and you can bow out if at any point that's your choice. So what would be a highlight for you, Joaquin, of your K-8 experience?
So mine was a little bit similar to Chesney's. So I think when I started like 3rd or 4th grade, so I was put into the gifted and talented group. They actually just started it like the year before. So I was designated as a gifted and talented student, but then I switched schools from like K through like the K through 5 school, but I moved from in 4th grade to the current school system that I'm in. And when I moved, they didn't, nobody really knows who you are. You kind of just have to make the name for yourself. So I quickly made a name for myself as one of the gifted and talented students. And the school was really great at like catching that because I felt like I needed more of a challenge. Um, so they gave me the opportunity to like go to the other school, go to like the higher schools because our school system, I moved in 5th grade, and that school only housed 5th grade and 6th grade students. And then the next school, which is the middle school, would only hold 7th and 8th grade students. So they would let me move up, like travel to the middle school to go take classes there. And it was a great boon for me because I was able to move up mainly in math because that was the only one they could actually help me with because they didn't have the resources for anything else at the moment because they just started as well for their gifted and talented program. But I was gonna say I was happy with what I could get, and I think that's why I like why math is one of my forefronts right now.
I like knowing that because if not given the opportunity to move along, sometimes that becomes frustrating, but you were given the opportunity. Thanks. Jolie, what was a highlight for you?
So a highlight for me, I've been to 3 different schools before Gatton. Um, I don't really remember so much about the gifted programs in my first 2 schools. It was before middle school, so there wasn't really much for that because we all took pretty similar classes. For high school though, at Model, I was designated as a gifted kid, but I was actually designated as a gifted kid in art. So I wasn't actually designated for STEM, but I still was able to take higher level math classes. Similar to Chesney, I took Algebra 2 in 8th grade, or not in 8th grade, sorry. I think I took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Freshman was geometry, and then sophomore was Algebra 2, which was ahead for my class because a lot of us did it reverse, kind of in a manner. So when I was taking geometry, they were taking Algebra 1 kind of thing. So I was still able to take those higher level classes, but given my school's location, it's next to Eastern Kentucky University. So if I was to run out of a math class or a class, I think I would have been able to put in a form to essentially take a class in EKU instead. I believe one of my friends was going to do that. So I think a highlight for that was definitely being able to possibly take university classes if my school was to run out of resources for me to take classes.
So if you were thinking back just to elementary school, was there any practice that got in your way of learning at high levels?
My elementary school, I had quite a bit actually. I remember that I wanted to read more advanced books, and at second grade, I wanted to start reading Harry Potter, but it was considered above my reading level. So my school actually refused to let me read Harry Potter or check it out from the library. So I know my parents had to go in and talk to them about that and essentially let them like know that I was either going to be reading it and buy it on my own, or I was going to be allowed to read it and still take my AR tests and still be able to pass my AR quizzes, because they didn't believe I was able to do that. And then same with my mathematics. I wanted to learn multiplication earlier than everyone else because I was already going ahead in addition and subtraction. But it took them quite a bit to even give me another multiplications drill test instead of just adding on subtraction or addition and just mixing it up. So I had a bit of an issue with trying to go ahead.
Okay. Joaquin, was there any barrier for you in elementary school?
I would say my barriers were pretty much the same as Jaylee's, where like if I wanted to read something on a higher skill level, mainly for the AR points, because that's what everyone was looking for back in the day, they would usually not let me because it was too high of a reading level. They would only like reserve it for the fourth grade and the fifth grade students. But I just tried hard enough, and then they just finally let me do it. And the same for math, but it wasn't as bad. It was like I felt like I could understand why I wasn't like in a rush to continue. Like I knew the addition and subtraction. Let's take Jaylee's example. I understood addition and subtraction like the back of my hand, and I wanted to go on to multiplication because that seemed more fun. But it felt fine. It was fine with me because then just meant more examples on how to do addition and subtraction and more practice doing it. So in the long run, it'll be less of an issue, but it's still addition and subtraction. So
How about you, Chesney? Anything that kind of stopped something you were interested in learning?
My school is actually really indulgent with what they let us do.
Good.
So I think it was because I come from a very, very small school system. Like my high school's graduating class was only going to be about 60 people, and the total student population is about 320. It's about the same for the middle and elementary school in the system. But ever since I was very, very young, I was reading very advanced books. Like, trying to think of an example. I read War and Peace in 6th grade, and a lot of teachers thought that was weird, but they didn't try to stop me. But I did have a couple of educational barriers that were like unrelated to things that I wanted to learn, but as opposed to how I was learning. Something that kind of got in the way of my academic career very early on was being designated gifted and talented. A lot of teachers, and this is definitely not all, but there were just a couple who did this, thought that you didn't need as much help as other students, which in some cases was true, but it actually led to me having an undiagnosed learning disability for years. And I think if teachers like maybe acknowledge that gifted and talented students need help too, then that could be very beneficial for them, especially in going forward learning.
Such an important point. And how did you find out that you had a learning disability?
Well, I had the symptoms for years, but I've been told I'm a very adaptable person. So I kind of just learned to work around them. I got a lot of help from people, but nobody really tried to put a label on it. It was actually when I came to Gatton that it got like out of hand, because Gatton's coursework is so much different than high school. So the old tricks that I was using to get by wouldn't work anymore. So I consulted a doctor and was told I have ADHD. So I learned some new coping mechanisms, and now everything's fine. But if teachers had, certain teachers had acknowledged early on that maybe something was going on, it probably would have been diagnosed a lot earlier.
I think that's such a wonderful example. I did not know that, Chess, and as we started this out, but I think that all of us in gifted ed are very well aware that there are twice exceptional children, those with gifts and talents who also have a disability. And we've got to shore up the disability, not concentrate on it, but concentrate on the gifts, but shore up so that success is the goal, of course, in that. Well, let me ask a different question of each of you. If you were to stay at your high school for the last year and this year, what learning opportunities would you have had, especially in STEM? And I hope there are a lot. I'm not.
Do you mind if I start? Is
I
that
would
fine with you
love
guys?
that.
Okay. So from our school, we didn't really have that much, only because we're super far out of the way. Like we don't, it's not really properly funded because it's just a small town, like a town of like 3,000, 4,000 people. So all we really had was the main thing for STEM. We were enrolled into this program called Project Lead the Way. And that's what I was going to do if I didn't go into Gatton, but it's just like a single class on this STEM track that they called it, they called it formally. It was just like diagnosing human, like a little bit of forensics, diagnosing human remains, learning about the human body system, learning about medical interventions and like prosthetics, stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. And then we also had connections to a Div 3 college called the University of the Cumberlands. So sometimes for dual credit, you were able to go to University of Cumberlands, and we have an EKU campus on Corbin, very small, but you could also go to there if you had the resources and the hours to take them. So those were probably what I was going to do, on top of APs, of course.
Were there several AP courses available to you?
STEM wise, there's actually we had AP Comp, AP Computer Science, AP Biology, AP Chemistry, AP Physics, AP Calc, AB and BC, I believe, and AP US History.
I'm impressed that that's really quite a array of AP courses in STEM. Great.
Thank you.
How about you, Jolie?
Hi. So if I had stayed at Model, we didn't have as many opportunities for STEM courses so much as non-STEM courses, actually. We were able to take a lot of AP classes. Like I took AP Human Geography in my freshman year. We have AP World History, AP US History. We also just now got AP Chemistry. And we had AP Psychology, but that's since been removed, I believe. And AP Biology, I believe. Those are our only STEM courses. We may have a math course, I'm not quite sure. But I would have planned to be taking those as well as some classes at EKU. But my ability to take classes at EKU would have definitely been hindered. My school has a policy that if the class is able to take an at Model, you have to take that class at Model first before taking it at EKU. So for instance, I would have had to take AP Psychology before I could have ever done Size 100 or Psychology 100 at EKU. Okay.
And so, Jolie, you, by being on a campus of a university, would have had some options that many high school students would not have had.
Yes, definitely. And I'm very fortunate if I had been there that I would still be able to take those, because it definitely would have helped me to grow as a person, and also similarly get that Gatton experience of having to take college classes, which I think is really valuable.
So Chesney, how about what would you have had available to you with classes?
My high school doesn't have a lot of STEM opportunities, especially given its size. We only have two AP courses, Calc and English, I think. But I would have actually run out of high school classes to take in junior year because I started taking advanced classes. So basically the alternative for AP was, or at least this was the case for me, I got special permission to start taking classes at Hazard Community and Technical College when I was at the end of 8th grade. So I started taking dual credit and non-dual credit, just straight college credit, when I was, the year before I was a freshman, I believe. And there were like pathways that we could do. Like there was a business and education. I think there was a culinary one, but I don't know if that still exists. And there was the medical one, which I was doing, and I started it, and it would actually end up graduating with a farm tech certification, I believe, and taking the NOCD exam. But since I came to Gatton, I stopped that program, which I was okay with. But like in terms of STEM specific opportunities, there weren't a whole lot. So Gatton was definitely extremely beneficial to my academic career.
So what I would like for people who are educators on this day to think about is, what are the advanced opportunities that are available for students at your high schools? And I think it varies dramatically from one district to another, even possibly within a district from one school to another. But advanced coursework is incredibly important, and it is not equally available across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So let's look at the Gatton Academy for a little bit. The Gatton Academy lets you remain duly enrolled with your sending high school. Your sending high school continues to get the daily average funding that, because you're duly enrolled, your sending high school will get your assessment scores. When you take the state assessment, they will go back and be figured into your school. And your school will also continue to have the opportunity to offer you a more advanced learning opportunity, such as the Gatton Academy or the Craft Academy. So at the Gatton Academy, you only take college courses. If there are any high school requirements you have not completed, you will do that through university coursework. You have the opportunity to engage in undergraduate research. Have any of you been involved with undergraduate research during your last year? Well, let's hear what that research was, and we'll start with you, Chesney.
Okay, my first research opportunity was WKU's undergraduate program called Genome Discovery, and I can't remember what it's called. We call it Genome. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. I'm sorry. But basically, it's you take an environmental sample and then go through the entire process to purify a bacteriophage sample from it. And that was like my very first research experience ever. And that really got me interested. So my next semester, I joined a biochemistry lab at WKU, focused on using if you've heard of CRISPR gene editing, the protein from CRISPR that binds to DNA, using it instead of cleaving DNA as a detection system for a particular DNA sequence. So like to use it as a system to diagnose a bacterial infection or a particular virus. So basically to detect a gene in a bacterium. And I actually just left that lab, but I spent my summer with the lab, and it was incredible. Even taking like advanced biology and chemistry coursework, I never would have learned what I learned in research.
That's very interesting. Thanks. Joaquin, how about you?
So mine is not as impressive as Chesney's, mainly because Well, I guess I can explain it. So I also did genome. It's called Genome Development and Exploration Program, by the way, Chesney. But I did the same thing that Chesney did, and there's actually a course after that that's considered like the second semester of genome called bioinformatics. And the professor who worked there was really nice, loved talking about his research using plants as like secondary medicine or alternative medicine. So I wanted to work with him because he was going to be working on like a new research project where we are going to extract plant genomes from actual plants that we're going to be growing and then inserting them in model species such as I think we're using zebrafish, yeast, and a type of tapeworm to see if they can alter cancer cells and hopefully treat or cure cancer cells. It's still in development stages, at least for this semester, because we were busy getting all the resources for said experiment last semester. But I believe we're starting in like mid-September, early October for that actual stuff. So I'm really excited for that. I've actually not been able to be in the lab. But just the opportunity to be able to work in a research lab before I'm a college student is just more than I could ever ask for. So I'm happy where I am.
Thanks. How about you, Jolie?
Hi, so I actually started my research last spring semester, doing psychological sciences research, and we've already done 2 experiments so far. The first one was about size perception and how aging affects how you perceive size, essentially. And right now we're actually in the works of getting that article published, which is really exciting. And then I also did a research internship grant, otherwise known as a RIG, which is Gatton essentially gave me funding in order to continue my research. And for this, we did another experiment about about how aging affects the perception of common fate. And common fate is essentially if I had 2 similar objects like my hand right here and I move them forward, you would perceive these sort of like as hands in a line, and just seeing how that can affect adults, which is sort of important for like looking at cars and car accidents and such like that. And we're actually in the works of getting that one published as well. And I was actually able to help write that manuscript for my Regeneron submission. So hopefully I'll be able to do Regeneron soon and the Louisville Science Fair. So that's very exciting. I'm really happy with being able to do research because I don't think I would have ever been able to get this opportunity before Gatton. And I'm very fortunate to be able to do it.
Well, it is not a requirement for Gatton students to be engaged in research, but it is an opportunity. And approximately 90% of the Gatton students do engage at least one semester in research during the 2 years that they're here. So let's turn to the advanced coursework that you have the opportunity to take. What math are you taking currently? And Jolie, I'll start with you.
So currently I'm taking honors Calc 2.
Calc 2, each Gatton student tests when they come and they have the opportunity, well, they take whatever they're ready for next. How about you, Joaquin?
I'm also doing Calc 2, but there's a bunch of my roommates that are doing higher levels of math. I think one's doing two are actually doing multivariable calculus now. One of them's a junior, actually. One of them's doing linear algebra and stuff like that. So at least both Jaylee and I are in Calc 2, but there's definitely higher math courses that people can take.
And that's the beauty of being on a college campus, because there is no limit to the math you'll be learning. And how about you, Chesney?
Also honors Calc 2.
Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. One of my stories that always comes to mind when I'm thinking about math, a couple of years ago, a graduating senior at the Gatton Academy was in for an interview with me. And as we finished, I said, okay, it's your last semester. what's the best thing about your last semester? And he very quickly said it was his opportunity to choose classes, his electives. And I said, what are they? Having no idea what I would hear. And he said, oh, they're Calc 3 and Calc 4. So if that's your exciting opportunity to learn, isn't it wonderful that it's available to you? So I heard some of you in the opening statement say that it is the community that is so important to you here at the Gatton Academy. What is it about the community that is so good, Joaquin?
So in my sending school, I didn't really have a lot of friends because I was too busy, like absorbed in my coursework, right? I felt like I had a duty to try and become the best that I can academically so that I can make for my future. And going here to Gatton helped me realize that it's not all about studying, that there are people who are just like you that also need help, and together we all make this cohesive like community of just support and being able to grow together as a community towards all of whatever we want to go do. And having that opportunity to be close to so many people and to have the support system if we're feeling down of our classmates and our like staff to push us up towards the best versions that we can be is feels exhilarating and feels brand new. Like I've never felt that since coming here. Like I didn't feel that the first 16 years of my life, and it felt really cool.
Thanks. Chesney, what's your take on the importance of the community?
At my sending school, I had like my group of friends, like most people did, but a lot of them were very different from me academically, and sometimes it was frustrating. So coming to Gatton, where the majority of the students at the school are extremely ambitious, just like you are, you can just fit in so well, and you all bond over like your shared ambition, and you may have similar favored career paths. And I became really good friends with one student at Gatton because we did research together. And it's just being academically similar is very conducive to a very close friendship.
Yes. Julie, how would you add to that? What's your perspective?
So I definitely agree about the ambition part. At my school, similar to Loki, I was really busy doing a lot of like studying or doing doing other academic things. And at my school, it seemed more popular to not really be invested in your academics as much. And because of that, I didn't really connect to my classmates at all, really. So when I came to Gatton and I saw people that were also excited about studying, but also were willing to relax and have fun or go out and take a walk, and it didn't feel so isolating to be like have your academics be an important part of your life. So I was really thankful for the other students in that, and I made plenty of close friends just coming to Gatton. And besides that, for staff wise, I really appreciate how we have the ability to see what like research opportunities or summer opportunities that we could have, because my school, when I asked, I never really found much besides the main ones of GSC or GSA or GSP. And I get to see a lot more like stuff centered around STEM specifically. So that makes me really thankful for the community overall.
I think when we talk about a community, it is so important that we have idea mates. We have other people who are interested in what we are. I think it is very difficult to develop a close friendship if you don't have something to share. And of course, at the Gatton Academy or any other school that has such a focus as Gatton does on higher level learning in STEM, you find your idea mates. And I think our children all need to be able to have friends who share their ideas. There's something to talk about. They're interested in the same thing. So I would like for each of you to share with the group on this Zoom meeting something about the Gatton Academy that I haven't asked you about that you think they should know about.
I think just beyond the challenge of the classes and the student community, the staff at Gatton is absolutely incredible. Like, I could not be as successful as I am here without the staff at all, because they know exactly what they're handling. I mean, they've been doing it for 16 years now. They just, they know how to support and take care of highly ambitious or highly STEM focused students. And just the support that we receive from the staff is unparalleled.
I'll share that with folks on Monday. How about for you, Joaquin? What's something folks need to know?
I kind of want to go off of what Chesney said. Like, the staff here is just immaculate. Like, the things that they do for us is quite astounding. Like, we have a person who helps us learn more about the colleges that we're going to go apply to, and gives us an entire like document of every single like research internship grant or research opportunity outside of WKU that is available for us as long as we put in the work. In fact, it's like at the bottom of every one of her emails that comes in like once every day. And then we have another person who his entire job is to help us learn more about research here and doing study abroad. It's like Harlexton in Costa Rica. The staff is just like Chesney says, like help. Like, I could not be where I'm at as well without the staff. And I guess if I had to say something that isn't about the staff, it would be the reception of Gatton, like towards the rest of the community, and how we are able to contact like the WKU staff, and they treat us as equals compared to with the WKU students, so that we get their own opportunities at like doing research opportunities with professors, doing WKU sanctioned events, like going to their games for spirit, stuff like that.
And one thing that is so important to know is that Gatton students are full-time WKU students, and they have opportunities to do everything that WKU students do, with a couple of exceptions. They couldn't play varsity sports, and they don't join Greek organizations, but they can be in the orchestra, the choirs, play in the band, audition for plays, be in clubs. And so you really are full-time students, although you will graduate from high school next spring, but with 60 hours or more. And Jolie, what would you want folks to know that we haven't talked about?
I think just the level of help that Gatton has given me, especially with like independence. Before coming to Gatton, I never studied at all, really. Like I did, but not to the level that I need to here. It was more just to look over my notes and I'll be okay with it, whatever exam, doesn't matter. But for here, I really had to learn those study skills, and Gatton staff was so supportive in that. And making sure that everyone could keep on track to learn. They advertise about needing to sometimes ask for help, because as Chesney said earlier, once you're labeled as a gifted student, a lot of teachers don't think you need as help. This is not all teachers, of course, but they sometimes don't really look at you for needing help as much. But here, Gatton just makes sure that it's okay if you struggle, because you can always ask for help, whether it be a WKU student asking for a student tutor, a peer tutor, going to WKU for their own tutoring, or going to professors' office hours. It's just so out there. The Gatton stuff is just tremendously helpful with everything. So I guess the independence of studying, yeah.
I would have to say, as Gatton students arrive, learning to study is something that is a challenge for many of them, not all of them, but many of them. If you've never really had to study, it's hard to put those study skills into practice. But it's important to do. And it's also a challenge to ask for help, because if you have never asked for help, you may see that as a sign of weakness and not want to be vulnerable and ask for help. I have one more question for each of you. Jolie, who told you? How did you learn about the Gatton Academy?
My mom actually told me.
Okay.
She works at a different school district, and some of her kids have previously come to Gatton. But besides that, I do know that my school put one post about Gatton and craft together, in our Google Classroom, but they never elaborated on that. But I know it was there for us. So I'm not really sure about everything else, but that's about it. It's just my mom told me.
That's a good way to do it. How about you, Joaquin?
I actually got it from like 2 different sources, maybe 3 if you want to count my parents. I got it from my brother, who actually found out before my parents, because Gatton actually came to our school to talk about Gatton. Yeah. My brother tried to get in, he got waitlisted, and then my parents were like, okay, Nina, who's my sister, has to get in. So she got in, and then I got in after her. So
Okay, so you knew about it. So how about you, Chesney?
I heard about it in a couple of different ways. I had a really close friend in freshman year who wanted to go, and she started talking to me about it, and I got curious, so I started looking into it. And then also, my mom is friends with the mother of a former Gatton student, so that's kind of how she heard about it and then told me about it. Nothing super formal.
Well, I just want young people to know about opportunities. I often say an opportunity is not a real opportunity until you know about it. So on this Zoom session today, it is important for us to know about opportunities and then to share that information with someone whose mother may not know about the opportunity, but you can make it available to them. I want to thank the panelists, but I will also open this up to questions if anyone has any for our student voices. Any questions out there, Tyler?
There are no questions right now in the Q&A, Julia. We did have a thank you to the panelists and the students for presenting today.
Well, thank you, B. I appreciate that. And
I would like to add, Julia, I'm sorry, Dr. Breedlove, who is our director or the head of our Gatton Academy, did say the staff is happy to come to any school or district to do an information session. So just reach out to academy@wku.edu and we'll put that in the chat.
Thank you for adding that. And that is definitely true. We are delighted to share information wherever you are. We also do preview weekends, and you can go to the website for the Gatton Academy, which is WKU's website /academy, and sign up to come for a preview weekend so that you can talk with the staff, talk to students, and a student can really get the sense that it's something they want to do or probably would prefer not to do, or that their parents are interested in. So thank you very much. We appreciate you being here on a Saturday and for sharing your ideas. Thank you. Are there questions that emanate from the day in general? And if not, I want to thank everyone for joining us for the Gifted Education Update. Any last words before we sign off? Well,
the only thing I see, Julia, is that someone did suggest a field trip to Gatton might be a great idea for students, that they've done that before.
And that works well too. And all you have to do is suggest that you would like to do that and to talk to one of the staff to get it arranged. Absolutely. Well, I hope to see many of you at the KAGE workshop in October. It will be very important, and I want you all to mark your calendars for the KAGE conference, and that's the 27th and 28th of February. We'll soon share with you the keynote speakers. The call for proposals is out, so think of something you're doing that you'd love to share with others and submit a proposal to do that. Thank you very much. See you soon.